Okay, welcome back to our tiny house project. Over on the right hand side of the screen you can see I'm just rotating around my little version of a tiny house. Now I came up with this design based on what one or two of you had sent back, and they're mostly based on this kind of two-level effect, because that's what the one in the little film we watched way back in the first week did. When the young fellow was telling us about his tiny house, it was a kind of L-shaped, and he had an upstairs sleeping area here. So you can see that I've got a large window in the front, my door, I've got a chimney stack for my wood burning stove, and a circular window for the upstairs sleeping area. Round the back, I've got one tall window where the kitchen is, and I've got this long window which is the kind of twin of the one on the front. I've clad the outside on what looks like wood, and I've put some tiles on the roof. Now I'm going to take you through how I did this really quickly, but hopefully by the time you've had a look through the YouTube clips that we've set up for you, that you should be able to tackle your design using SketchUp. Now it's a little bit difficult trying to do it in this small screen to keep that one open, but unfortunately that's the way things are. I'm going to start off with a rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw the footprint of the tiny house on the ground, and I'm using that little lady as my reference point about how big it's going to be. Click on there. My push pull tool, I'm now going to pull it up to about that height there. That looks about right. There's her head height there, and it's over kind of in that area. I'm going to take my pencil now, and I'm going to hover along this line until it flashes to say it's in the centre. Notice it did there, so I've got a little red square, and then bang, midpoint. Click. I'm going to go all the way across to the midpoint on the other side. That's me splitting that top part into two. Using the push pull tool, I'm now going to draw the roof up, and I'm drawing it up to the height where the pointy bit, where this highest point here would be. So that looks about right. Go to my pencil tool. Once again, I'm hovering along to the halfway, there it is there. And then I'm going to come down a nice slope to about there. And then do the same on the other side, and it will snap when it gets to the same position. There it is there. Back to the centre. Zoom in a wee fraction using my mouse wheel. If you don't have a mouse and you're trying to do this with the touchpad, it's going to be really difficult. So if you could get a hold of a mouse from someone in your house, that would be very good. A mouse from someone in the house. There we go. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Clicking on here, hovering over that until it goes dotted, and push all the way to the end. Go there and push all the way to the end. You'll notice on mine we've got these overhangs. I'm going to take you through how I did them. You might find better ways to do it. I'm just going to show you how I did it. And to begin with, I'm going to use my push pull tool, hover over this part of the roof, and I'm going to pull it up about that distance. I'm going to do the same on this side, and it's going to create that little kind of V shape there, but don't worry about that, we'll fill that in later. In fact, I'll fill it in just now. Why don't I do that? So I'm going to click on my pencil tool and join there to there. Now what I can do is zoom out a wee bit. This is where it gets quite difficult to do this on the small screen. There we go. So I'm going to try and rotate that around so I can see the triangle. Going back to the push pull tool, I want to just highlight that triangle by itself. There it is there, and I'm going to push, 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 all the way until the end. And that's me now filled in that little part that had a gap in it. And you'll see why I need to do that later on. Let's go out to the sides now. And I'm going to pull this down a fraction, like that. And then I'm going to orbit around and do the same on the other side. Push pull tool. Don't worry if it's not exactly the same, it's just so that it looks kind of the same. So that's us got that overhang there. And I'm going to orbit round, and what I'm going to do now is use the pencil tool to join this corner here to the bottom of the little V, and then back down to that point there. Then push pull, and I'm going to pull it out of fraction, and then I'll orbit round so I can see what I'm doing. And now I'm going to pull that little triangle out, and then I'm going to pull that bit there out, all using that same tool. So that comes out to there, and then that comes out to there. Perfect. It's almost as if I knew what I was doing. So I'll spin that round, and I'm going to repeat that on this side. So pencil, corner, V, V, corner, and zoom in a little bit, push pull, pull that out of fraction, zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing, then pull that one out of fraction, and then pull that one out a fraction. And that's us got pretty much the basic shape of the house. There we go. So if you compare that with the one over here, you can see that we're not a million miles away. Kind of in the right ballpark. What can I do now? Well, why don't I have a go at making this little chimney stack? Over here, where my rectangle tool is, if I click on that fly by or fly out, and then find a circle, I'm now going to draw a little circle over here somewhere. Not too big. Let me zoom in. There we go. Make it about that big. Using my push pull tool, I'll pull it up a reasonable distance, and I'll orbit round so I can see the top, and zoom out a little bit. I don't know where that ping came from. And back to my orbit, and I'm going to shift down a little bit. And on top of this circle, I'm going to draw another circle. Don't worry if it's not exactly in the centre. And then push pull. I'm going to, there we go. Let me pull that up that way. And that gives me the kind of chimney pot that I'm looking for on that side. So everything's being done by eye. I'm not worried too much about measuring right now. This is just an impression that I'm looking for. There we go, it's not a million miles away from what it was. Over to the circle tool again, I'll do this window while I'm here. Click. And like that. Once I've got the shape, what I do is use my push pull tool and ever so slightly push it in the way. Now I want to go back to rectangles now, so I'm going over here to my fly out, and I'm going to switch back to rectangles. Thinking about the size of the person here, I'm going to make my door about the right height for her, which would probably be about there. I'm looking at my window, and at the top of the window I want it to be in line with the top of the door, so click on there, and then nice wide window. Back to my push pull tool once again, and all you have to do is push them in a fraction just so they're not too level with it. And round the back of the house you'll remember that we had our long window, which was the kind of twin of that one. So let's spin round to the side, and I'm just going to do it by eye, so I think it's about there. Remember, the tiny houses, they're not like modern £1 million luxury apartments. They are kind of built by hand, so everything's sort of judged. Doesn't have to be accurate to the nearest millimetre. Spinning round. Almost looks like a little steam train with a set of wheels on it. I'll save that for another lesson. Right, now this one's obviously looking a bit more realistic. This one's a bit plain and white. I'm going to go to my paint tool, click on that, and this opens up this menu over here. I'm going to click on this, and if your Wi-Fi is as slow as mine, it'll take forever. There we go. Brick and cladding. So I'm going to go for that one first. And the one I'm looking for is this bottom one here, which is the same as that one. So if I click on that, then I'm going to click, click. I'll just hide that menu for a moment. and then I'll orbit. Just press escape once to get your paint pot back. Click on there and click on there. Then let's go to my paint pot again, and this time instead of bricks and cladding I'm going to go for roofing if I can find it. There we go, roofing. And I'll use these ones this time. And then click on there. I'll just close the menu for a moment and then scroll down a little bit. Press escape once to get the paint pot back. And if I zoom right in here, I can add a little bit of tile in there too to fill that in. Now the sidings, that's what these bits here are called. I could leave them just white, they kind of stick out nice because a lot of people have got sidings that are white. Oh, I forgot to do this part here. What I might make this as a feature. Let's go for that. What can we get here? So let's go for asphalt and concrete. Remember, it's just the kind of colours we're looking for just now. What about that? That looks quite rustic. Put that on there. There we go. That's nice. And I'll find some wood for on this surface here. Brick cladding, glass and mirrors, roofing. There we go, it's alphabetical wood. And go for that one and put that on there. So that could almost be like a little bit of a deck. My chimney's probably going to be made out of metal. So find a nice shiny one. There we go, there's shiny. And there's another shiny one there. Remember to do the inside and the top. And close that menu again. Orbit round, see what it looks like. Not half bad. Almost looks like that one over there. Slight difference with that bit there. Sorry about the pings, it's not my phone. And let's go for the menu again, and we're going for glass and mirrors this time. And we'll find some nice, why don't we use that one for there. And we'll use a different one for there. Orbiting round so we can do the one on the other side. If you try and do this without a mouse, it's almost impossible. So whatever you do, make sure you steal yourself a mouse. Orbit back round. What I haven't got yet is the door. So what can we do for the door? Let's just go for fabrics. What kind of thing could we get for that? Make the door look really different. What about that one there? There we go. That looks quite nice. Now you'll notice that we have colours as well. So I could, if I'm feeling really clever about stuff, I'm going to pick this brown, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to colour all these little bits round about the doors and the windows. Now I'd spend a lot of time going round and filling all of those in. You obviously don't want to be sitting watching me doing that, but I would go around and do all those edges. And that would make it look even more realistic. So if I zoom out, and then we compare the one that I did before, which is over there, and the one that I did at this point, you can see there's a good little bit of similarity. Obviously it's your design, so you have to come up with what you think it should look like, but I think as a tiny house, that's not too bad. So it's now time for you to have a go and see what you can come up with.